Okay.
$5. Okay, I posted.
On both?
2019, it works better on the phone.
Okay, do it. Okay. This is not on, right? It's not going to be on.
It's live, yeah.
So perfect.
Yeah.
Hi, guys! Okay, we're stopping it. Oh, we're not using this, right? No. Okay.
Are we able to?
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Sorry we're a little bit late. So welcome to the MSS General Exec Council, basically the spring elections for 2017-2018. So thank you all for being here tonight. I just want to introduce our CRO. If you ever have any questions, her email has been CC'd on all of our, or has been included in all of our emails. So Caitlin right over here. This way, perfect. Good. So we'll just talk a little bit about, so if you have any questions for her in general about the process, or just if you want to make sure that things are fair, etc., you feel free to email her. But we also have, or email the Gmail account that you all now know very well. Okay, so the way we're going to proceed with the night is we're going to have all of the contested positions speak first, and it'll be executive council and then general council. So all the class councils will be going last. I'll give you guys exactly the breakdown of who's going when, and just a little bit about the rules of the speeches and on like the timing and stuff. So one thing just to be really important that you guys know, you're being live streamed right now. So the video is right here. You're supposed to be in like this little box area. So like the angle's really bad. It's not going to do anything good for you. It's okay. It's the same thing every year. But make sure you guys stand here at the podium so that you are being live streamed. You don't have to look there, but at least they can hear you and they can see you at home. And also the links to the speeches will be included in the voting email. So the speeches are going to be up during the voting period. So if students want to watch, they're allowed to watch after once voting period has begun. So, good. All right. So the way we're going to start, we're actually going to start with the only uncontested position we're going to start with is the VP Socials, just because someone has to leave early. So we will start with you guys first. Then we're going to go to VP External Canada, VP External Quebec, the VP Finances, and then Executive Vice President. We'll do the Executive President. Then we're going to do Executive Vice President and Corporate Affairs, the Secretary, the VP Internal Affairs, VP Medical Education, VP Wellness, VP Global Health Senior, and then we're going to move on to General Counsel, VP IT, Student Space, the GAC Officer, SMU Rep, and then all the class councils to end off. So I'll just talk a little bit about how it's going to work. So as all the candidates know, you have a minute and a half to speak. We will be timing you, and we're just going to be strict for time just because there are some people that have to speak tonight. So at 1 minute, I or Caitlin will raise one of our hands so that you know that it's 1 minute. Then we'll raise two hands when you at a minute and 15 seconds, and then we will do this at a minute 30. So like we'll give you guys like maybe 2 seconds extra, like if you really need it, so we're not super rude. But by like 1 minute and 32 seconds, we're gonna be like, sorry guys, like it's over. So hope you guys have your speeches prepared really well so you can be in that 1.5 minutes. So after the speeches, there will be question period. So we have asked people to send in questions if they had. If there are questions from the audience, we will all take them. However, the students that had your position this year will be asking you up to 2 questions. So that's it. All right? Do we have any questions before we start? Yes? Yeah, so you'll have 1 minute to answer every question. And also, important thing for all the candidates to know, when we're doing so let's say we're starting with the VP External Canada's for the contested positions. Everyone else that's running for VP, let's say we're starting with James to talk, everyone else will have to stay outside during the presentation, and then you guys will swap. Okay?
Is there a break?
No breaks. All right. Any other questions? Yes?
Can we hold your cell phone?
No. What do you mean, can we hold our cell phones? No cell phones. So like when you're going outside, you leave everything here. Like you can't have your friend texting you being like, oh, they did this, oh, they did that. So just like leave everything else here. There will be at least there'll probably be one exec out there just to make sure everything is going well. Yes?
What's the rationale for having people leave the room?
Because if we ask questions, it's possible that we have ask similar questions from one candidate to the other, and so we don't want there to be an unfair advantage for someone who is speaking later. And if they want to watch the speeches back after and see how the other candidates running for the same position as them did, they're more than welcome to, since it'll be available online after. Any other questions before we start?
How many more seconds will we do this after the 1 minute?
Like 2 seconds.
2 whole seconds?
2 whole seconds. And then gotta tap out. Any more questions? I don't think we've ever had this many questions. No more questions for me. Great. Okay, so we're gonna start with the VP Socials.
Who's first? Yeah. Oh, look, it's us. I think too short for this. You stand here? Okay. That's you?
You should go here.
Yeah.
They can't see you at all.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
So we got 3 minutes.
Yeah. We can like their food.
Did you kill him? Was it too embarrassing to go put it back?
Are you going to tell us when to start now? Do you tell us when to start? Oh, we can start.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
First word, I will.
Perfect.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ivan, and this is Tanya. And we are running to be your Vice President of Social Affairs for the upcoming year.
So we chose this position because Iman and I both actually have quite a bit of experience with student council. I was co-president of the MedP DentP Student Association, and Iman was an executive frosh coordinator last year. Basically, the main idea of our campaign is really centered around inclusivity. We want everyone in med school to feel like social events are tailored for you. It's easy to forget that sometimes the interests of some are not always the interests of everyone. So we want to make sure that we try and cater to as many people as possible.
So how are we going to do this? So first of all, for Frosh, we would like to increase the variety of beverages and activities that are given to the non-drinkers. We're going to work in closely with the Equity Committee to make sure that we really emphasize safety during this event. And we're also going to make an organizing committee of medical students to help us organize and make sure that the event runs smoothly. For Med Law, we're going to look for other alternatives. Maybe look to, for example, renting a loft or something like that instead of going to a club. For Chez Meredith, that was really well done this year. We would like to continue on the same path and expand on it as well. So we heard a lot of good stuff about the interprofessional Sangaset, so we'd like to do something like that, maybe with nursing students or PTOT. Themes such as like Tir sur la Neige or Carnival Night would be something good, and we'd also like to expand on the food options and also the drinking options that are given. And last but not least, for internals. So internals was really well done this year, and we would like to continue on the same path. So how we would like to do this is to first and foremost create a strong relationship with the sponsors that we had from last year, and if possible to get more sponsors as well. And we'd also like to make a student committee as well to make sure that everything runs smoothly for us as well.
And one of our last points, which is a bit more general, is going to be about communication. So we want to make it really, really well known that we're super accessible and that we want to hear everybody's thoughts. So one of our big ideas is after every single event, we want to send out a quick survey just to see how people liked the event, what they enjoyed, what they didn't enjoy, what they think could be improved. So that way we can use that feedback and use it for our future events. Overall, we have a lot of great ideas and plans for you guys, and we would love the opportunity to be able to share that with you and make next year as fun as possible for everybody. So thank you. Okay.
My question is, one thing that either you mentioned or wasn't on our platform is something that me and Simon is struggling with, and it's reaching out to mentors and mentors and how to make their attendance to events more prominent. And so I was wondering if you guys had any ideas as to how to ameliorate that.
Okay, well, I think especially in terms of certain events, Some of them are more catered towards the Med 4s and they're more available. Like for example, Internos is kind of, I guess, casually known as the Med 4 event because a lot of them is they're going away. So I think that we would focus on the events that are more, I guess, time commitment related. For example, Share Mayor. I know that in Med 1 and probably Med 2, we have a lot more free time in that respect. We don't have mandatory hospital shifts or anything like that. So I guess when it comes to those more time flexible, we would definitely put more of a priority on, reaching out to the Med 3s, finding out what their schedules are like, when their exams are, and centering that.
We can also ask the class reps to tell us what's the best days, and also we can ask them to tell the Med 3s and Med 4s about the events as well.
I guess increasing advertising, like that's a big thing, reaching out through, different social media platforms and email for those who don't use Facebook per se.
Do you have any questions from anyone in the audience?
We have another one. So we'll give you a scenario we encountered like this year just to see like how you guys would react. So let's say it's during Frosh. You know that McGill, well, you'll get to know that they have like a really strong policies and you'll need to go through a lot of steps to make sure that the event is accessible and there's no any complaints. And you get a message on the second day of Frosh from the Dean of Students who advises you that medical students, the citizens of the McGill ghetto made complaints against medical students for like yelling out chants in the streets. How do you deal with like such a situation?
Okay. I think we had a similar complaint in our Med P Frosh, and I think like the biggest thing what we did when we get complaints like that is first you call a meeting with your Frosh coordinators and with all the captains, and you relay the message to the captains and say that this was a big problem that we faced. It's really, really important, and it needs to be really hammered down for its importance. And then I think also what's important is that it happens as early as possible. Let's say you get the message at night, next morning before the breakfast event, like whatever it may be, is to really just get everyone together and make sure that it's communicated to everybody's teams. I think it's really hard for us, two people, to relay the message to everyone, and that's why we have an organizing committee and that's why we have captains. So I think that'd be important.
So if possible, I don't think we have many events that are in the ghetto, so we try as much as possible to avoid going in that area if possible. And like you said, we have the captains in each team for that.
Are there more questions?
Move from the next one to the next one. All right, so we're gonna go up to the VP External Canada. So if, we're gonna start off with James, then it's gonna be Ghislaine, and then it's gonna be Nicholas. So I'll just ask if all of you guys can bring me your phones.
All right, hi everyone. My name is James, and I'm running to be the VP External Canada of the MSS. I'm running again, so I've done this position this year, and I hope to explain why I think I've done a good job, which I think is an important part of why I think you should re-elect me, and what I hope to bring to this position next year. So, for those not familiar with the position, the VP External Canada, or the CFMS representative, is the liaison between the MSS and the CFMS. CFMS is the Canadian Federation of Medical Students. It's the big organization that connects 15 different medical student societies across Canada. Notably does not include the other 3 Quebec schools. So that's why we have the VP External Canada as well. A large part of the role is communicating things like the discounts, resources, and opportunities that the CFMS can provide to its students, and to showcase the initiatives that the CFMS has and that students can take advantage of. So some of the initiatives that I was fortunate enough to have done this year, the MSS Travel Award, which allows general student members to access the funds that I've had as VP External Canada and participate in CFMS elections, etc. Do a clubs database, which connects clubs all across Canada. And next year we're hosting the annual general meeting 2018 in Montreal, which brings 150 medical students from the CFMS all across Canada to Montreal. So please vote for me.
So the unmatched Canadian graduate issue will be a large advocacy point next year in CFMS. How can we use our role in CFMS to actively advocate for our unmatched students? And what solutions do you think should be explored to resolve this issue?
Right. So in Ottawa at the 2017 AGM, a position paper was passed to support Canadian unmatched medical students. We had the opportunity in planning this AGM. I got together the GAC representative, wellness representatives, the entire delegation essentially going to there, including the VP External Quebec, who I think plays a major role in this issue. We all got together to review this position, or to review this paper, and submit McGill's, is that no time left? Or okay, and submit McGill's position on it. I think moving forward, like communicating with the FMEQ on this, they just started a group to address this issue at the last FMEQ meeting, and working closely to make sure that this issue is sort of a pan-Canadian approach to addressing the unmatched problem. Oh, is there a second? Sorry.
Is there any questions from the audience? Okay, so I'm going to go with mine.
Sure.
So, James,
Yes.
you will be a Med 3 next year.
Yep.
Med 3 means quick shift, Med 3 means unpredictable schedules, and traditionally there are no Med 3s on the exec council because of the demanding role. How can you prove to us that you will have enough time to be able to contribute to the exec council as much as you did this year or more?
Right. So I think an important piece is a large part of this position is unique that we're hosting the AGM in Montreal next year. And a lot of the work that's going to go into this role is actually going to be done over the summer. And I plan to work heavily to make sure that this conference is well planned. We have a committee going already who's putting together a lot of really interesting initiatives to make this a really collaborative event. Not only that, but like Lucy last year was in this position. She was also the CFMS Quebec regional representative, and she was a clerk this year, and she was able to like attend the meeting, contribute to all the discussions. I think this is one of the real flexible positions on council that really allows for clerks to be in this position. I do think there's some positions on council that make it particularly difficult, but I don't think this is one of them. And I think maybe Lucy can attest to that as well, and what I've seen her do as a clerk. Thanks.
I stand here. Oh, okay, not flattering. Lord, I'm not gonna look. It's fine. We're ignoring. Okay. So, good evening, everybody. My name is Gislan Moussaoui, and I am running for the VP External Canada position. So I think it's a very important position with a very powerful voice meant to represent every single one of you guys and what you believe in. This is why, as part of my campaign, the first thing that I wanted to highlight was a survey that I wanted to distribute to you guys to know which issues you believe are really important and should be brought to a national level. Second, I believe very strongly that medical student mental health is extremely important and is an issue that should be brought up at the national level, which is why I intend to collaborate with the CFMS to launch a national suicide awareness and prevention week. Troisièmement, je suis bilingue, which I believe is an important quality when wanting to bring together the CFMS and the FMAQ, which I intend to do with the elected VP External Quebec. Lastly, I also intend to advocate for unmatched medical students by reaching out to the elected GAC and the MSS executives to promote to our faculty the recommendations that were brought up by the CFMS recently in support of unmatched medical students. So I can promise to all of you guys that I will be transparent and honest and will always have your best interest at heart. So I thank you all for listening and for your support. So. Yes.
The unmatched Canadian graduate issue will be a large advocacy point next year in the CFMS. How can we use our role in the CFMS to actively advocate for our unmatched students, and what solutions do you think should be explored to resolve this issue?
Okay, so I think in Quebec, we're in a very particular position, at least at McGill, because we're both part of the CFMS and the FMAQ. So first thing I think is very important to bring these two associations, federations together. Now, I know that recently the CFMS has brought up recommendations, and I intend to advocate for those here on campus. I also intend to do, in collaboration with the other CFMS representatives, what has been done in Ontario, which is advocate for a meeting with our ministry and really push for an increase in residency spots, because it's very important and that's our issue and we need to do that. Can you remind me quickly the second part of your question?
Yeah, so the second part is just what solutions do you think should be explored to resolve this?
So definitely meeting with the ministry and bringing together the CFMS and FMAQ. Yeah, I think that's very important. Thank you.
All right, so when for me then?
Oh, that was sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So they talked a little bit about the MSS Travel Award, and I applied for it, and I know that it was quite competitive to get the MSS Travel Award. So because it's like a financial strain for like a lot of students, how would you work to improve funding so that more students in the field can attend the CFMS, excluding the fact that it's here next year, but like.
Okay. So that's very interesting that you bring this up, because we had a question yesterday asked to us about the budget and the fact that $16,000 were allocated yearly to the CFMS attendance conference. Out of that money, a lot of it is not used, meaning that we would have a lot of extra money and budget to, in my opinion, extra budget, which I believe should go towards student initiatives and promoting the presence of students at those events. Also, I think that I would like to improve a little bit the selection process when it comes to those awards, because I think it's very important, sure, to demonstrate interest, but there has to be more transparency as far as how the decisions are made as to who gets to go and why. And I do not think it should be my place to decide who gets to go or not, because I wouldn't want any bias in there, so I would like there to be a committee overseeing that. Thank you.
So hi everyone, my name is Nicholas and I'm running for VP External Canada. In my undergrad, I had a position as VP Physical Therapy, which meant I was the liaison between the Canadian Physical Therapy Association and the student body. My roles included organizing conferences and events and attending other conferences and events, and also increasing awareness of the services that CPA was offering to students. As you can see, there's a lot of overlap between this past role and the one I'm applying for, but there's also a lot of differences and challenges I'm willing to overcome. I have 3 goals for my campaign. The first one being increasing McGill's representation on the governance of CFMS. Right now we're underrepresented in a lot of committees and task forces, and I think the AGM being held in Montreal in September is a perfect occasion to really target the populations that are interested in getting those positions. So I really want to target the MSS clubs and interest groups that have the same topics as those committees. So for example, the Health Policy Committee, the Finance Committee, the Medical Engagement Committee, the Cannabis Task Force. There's a lot of people in the MSS who are interested in those topics and have a lot of information, a lot of opinions. And that it would be nice if they would be heard at the national level. My second goal is to increase student participation in the general meetings, and I want to do that by improving the travel awards so that we prioritize students who submit position papers, discussion papers, and policy statements, and also giving monetary awards to students who submit those words as well, but don't want to attend the GM meetings. And yeah, my third, okay, all right. The rest is on platform. That went faster. Yes.
The unmatched Canadian graduate issue will be a large advocacy point next year in the CFMS. How can we use our role in CFMS to actively advocate for our unmatched students? And what solutions do you think should be explored to resolve this issue?
Yes. So it's an important issue, especially for us, because as the only Quebec member, like McGill is like the link between the other Quebec schools and CFMS, because we're the only school in Quebec that's part of CFMS. So we're like in a position where we have to advocate for everyone in Quebec, a lot of unmatched student. So I think, sorry, you asked for what we could do to, I think what's important is to get like the feedback from the people that applied, or what they think the changes should be. For example, how matching should work, like in terms of like when you decide your priority, your choices. So like obviously it would be a lot of like discussing this, getting feedback from students who didn't get matched. I think that's the first step to go at it. And that's all I have to say for that for now. Yes.
So in terms of the MSS travel board, like I had applied to it, didn't get it, which is fine. But like there are a lot of students. I got there, I swear. But like I only found out later that like quite a few people applied for it, or there's like a travel award given. So like how are you going to work to improve funding so students who are financially disadvantaged are able to still attend?
Yeah. So just heads up, there's a lot of resources for travel awards. There's also the CFMS travel awards that fund a few students like participation in those general meetings. I read through the criteria for our MSS travel awards, and I think there should be a lot of changes to make it more objective. I also think, like I mentioned, that we should prioritize maybe 2 or 4 positions to students who submit like those papers, like position discussion papers and policy statements and resolutions to those general meetings, so they would be prioritized, but also positions to students who really want to attend those meetings and want to know more about CFMS. So we could have like a split of half and half, and that would help hopefully people participate more and be more interested in CFMS. Oh, okay.
Sure, go ahead. So considering that this year's current VP External Canada is running, what more like bring people?
Okay. Yeah, so this has been a concern by a lot of people, especially because the AGM is being held in Montreal this September. And with this year's, the bid was a great, like an awesome achievement, but the committees will stay Like even if we change VP external, it will still stay the same committee, and the AGM will still be held in Montreal in September. It doesn't change the fact that the conference is held here. I think it's just a matter of like working with this year's VP external to like sit on the committee and work together to make it the best experience. So yeah, and also bringing new ideas. Bringing new ideas. Like it's just, I have a lot of plans for like increasing Miguel's representation. I feel like that wasn't touched upon in other platforms as much. I really want to make sure Miguel has a place in CFMS and our ideas. We have so many great ideas. I really want them to be heard at the national level.
All right. So the next people will be the VP External Quebecs. So we're going to start with David Dan and then Marie-Pierre. So David Dan will go first. I'll need your cell phone.
Great. So hi everyone, thank you for taking the time to come listen to the speeches. Merci d'être venu au discours. Je m'appelle David Dan, DD pour les intimes, et je me présente au poste de VP externe Québec. I think I'm a great fit for the role, first off because I have experience with the FMEQ. This year I was on the board of directors of the FMEQ, which allowed me to better understand the organization, but also to make important connections that will definitely serve me in my role to be as effective as possible. The second reason is that I'm really passionate about voicing the concerns of students when it comes to social and political issues. And I think just fundamentally, it's about creating a community of engaged medical students in Quebec. To do that, I have three things in mind: inclusivity, accountability, and a clear-cut vision. One part of that vision is to make sure that I accurately represent your interests. And I think that's the easiest thing to say when you present yourself to a VP external position. But concretely, what that means for me is to be able to get you involved and to be able to get so that you can voice your concerns. And to do that, I have to get as much as possible a lot of information out there. So, for example, one of the things I discussed with the incoming VP internal is having a monthly press review of what's happening in Quebec, or also posting every report that I have after meeting with the FMEQ. And finally, another really important aspect of my platform was strengthening the MSS position within the FMEQ. One of the main reasons for that is I think it's really important for students here to get not only a lot of opportunities, to get their voices heard, but mainly to represent their interest. And a minute 30 is really fast, so please check out my platform, please check out the MSS website, and thanks again for coming. Yeah, so one great thing that happened this year was the first meeting, I think at the beginning of the year, where you and James were presenting the CFMS and the FMEQ. I think an initial meeting at the beginning of the year is really important to get the information out there. I think Frosh is also a great opportunity just to, send out a few flyers. I think more fundamentally, it's about posting in the groups, getting people engaged. Posting in the group isn't always as effective because you get a lot of posts. So that's why I also suggested posting in Murmur. Personally, I read Murmur all the way down, and specifically when it's something that concerns me. So making sure that the information is available and that interested students go after that information is the first part, and the second part is making that information, widely available to people that aren't necessarily initially interested by it.
Okay, my second question is a hypothetical situation.
Yeah.
So as we keep talking about the several members of the FMEQ, one of them approaches you asking you to forego the opinions of the MSS members to do with certain voting subjects.
what are your following actions?
So I think we have to go back to the mission of the FMAQ, right? The FMAQ is to represent all 4 student associations, all 4 associative members, but fundamentally, the associative members represent the students. So if an executive is asking me to forego what my association tells me to represent, that's fundamentally wrong. So the first step for me would to report back to my council and telling them within the general council meeting that that situation happened. The second option that we must explore is that request constitutionally okay from the executive member? I mean, if it's a conversation and he's trying to advocate for his position and he shares his view, that's great. But if he's coercing his own opinion on an MSS representative to change their opinion and not represent their students, I think that could be constitutionally very doubtable, as they are accountable to us and therefore accountable to the opinion of the students that we're representing. Thank you.
So this year is an election year in Quebec, and lots of the major issues turn on healthcare. So if you're elected to VP Quebec, what's your plan to mobilize students, get students to vote, or pursue other avenues?
That's a great question. The first thing I think of is the Journée d'Action Politique, so the political action day that we had this year, and we specifically did it with the intent that the elections are coming up and let's put pressure on the government. I think for students, it's really to once again get their concerns out there, tell them that this is a really important year for the government of Quebec, and we have the chance to really make ourselves heard. So getting that information out there. I was expecting a question on residency matches. This I also think is a great year to get that conversation going again. Because in Quebec, there's a table de concertation where the FMAQ actually has a position sitting there. And I know the government is not talking about that conversation because it's a difficult one in Quebec. It's a very pricey one, changing the whole system of admissions. And it's kind of being slid in under there. So as students, we have to bring that back up. So bringing back issues that are very important to us and making sure that we ask the students first what issues they want to bring up.
So I have to stay right there, right? Okay. So hello everyone, my name is Marie-Pierre and I'm running for the VP Action Quebec. What's that? Well, it's the liaison between the MSS and provincial organizations such as the FMAQ, Fédération Médicale Étudiante du Québec, which represents all 4 medical schools in Quebec. Ever since I got into medicine, I focused on getting involved with the FMAQ. Last September, I applied for a position on the FMAQ exec. It was a long shot, but hey, everyone needs to start somewhere. So I bounced back and I participated in the FMAQ Lobby Day. This was the beginning of my journey, and these elections, hopefully, will be the final point of it. I'm counting on you. If I'm elected, I promise you to this same dedication that I've shown throughout the year. Who has time to go through all the FMAQ communiques? Probably just me. So I'll send you summaries of all the relevant information. Who wants to save money? Probably not just me. So I'll send you a document that thoroughly presents the FMAQ and all the discounts. And finally, with the support of Héloïse, the current VP Action Quebec, I'll continue her projects like the pre-JAP meeting. Ainsi, je suis confiante que j'arriverai à vous représenter le plus fidèlement possible et à vous pousser à vous impliquer avec la FMAQ. Merci beaucoup. Votez-moi! Okay.
How do you intend to better the visibility and the opportunities that the FMAQ offers within the MSS?
Within the MSS members. Okay, so I really want to make more advertisement. I think that's the primary thing, but also to put forward things that are really essential for the MSS members. I did a poll like 2 days ago, and what people are expecting is really what they are expecting from the VP Action Quebec is that he or she puts forward like get the people involved with the FMEQ. So that's what they want. I think I have to talk about the committees that are going on, and also the JAP, which was the Journée d'Action Politique, which is the FMEQ lobby day I participate in.
So the next question is a hypothetical situation. So as VP from Quebec, you are with several members of the FMEQ Executive Council. One of them approaches you asking you to forego the opinions of the MSS student body on a certain voting subject. What are your comments?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so, well, first of all, I couldn't listen to the FMEQ executive, so I would continue to represent the MSS as much as I can. I would probably approach this person and explain him what my role is, and really intend to respect my role. So, yeah. Is there enough? Yeah.
So this year, 2018 is an election year in Quebec. So many of the issues are on healthcare and everything. So what's your plan to get students to vote, to get mobilized around political issues and pursue some action?
Okay. So I think people has to understand the importance of politics even at our level, because we're going to be in hospitals. Well, med2s already are, but I mean, as our future carrier, we really need to understand that the future of our patients is really important, and that will affect our carrier also. So I think I would advertise for the impacts of these political issues.
You volunteered for this. You volunteered for this. Oh, you were voluntold into this position.
Alright, so next up is the VP Finances or Finance. So it appears as though Puya is unable to make it. So we will go on with Hassan. Okay. Perfect.
So do I get 3 minutes?
No, you get 1.5. When you're ready.
Alright, bonsoir mes amis. So my friend over there told me that I should speak French. I'll get some more votes. I'm not sure about that. We'll see. I mean, that's all I know in French. So jokes aside, before I start, I would like to thank Davide. He did an absolutely awesome job at VP Finance. I only have 90 seconds to talk about myself, or 92 if Amanda allows. So my name is Hassan. I'm running for VP Finance. And my campaign really boils down to 3 things: experience, transparency, and proactivity. So in terms of experience, I do have a lot of experience in student clubs. I was VP events in the McGill Tennis Association during my undergrad for 2 years. And you might think that events doesn't really have to do with finance, and I kind of agree. But back in the time, the McGill Tennis Association didn't have a formal VP finance. So as a VP events, I had to manage all my budgets. I had to balance statements at the end of the year. I even sometimes had to raise funds for the club. So I do know my way around money. I do know my way around budgets. Okay, 30 seconds, okay. I'll go quick. The second thing is transparency. And I do believe that when it comes to money, transparency is key. Because this is not my money, this is not McGill's money. This is your money, this is your money, maybe not your money, but in general, this is our money. So you guys should have a say in how it's being spent and where it's coming from. And that is something I'm definitely going to change. And the last thing, because I only have 10 seconds, is proactivity. So I wasn't very proactive last year, I'm going to be honest with you. I had a lot of things going on, but I do believe that for any institution to improve, okay, she's telling me to stop. I mean, okay, you can read my platform if you want. Okay? It has all of these things, and I'm open for questions. David?
So my question for you is, as you know, or as you've been aware, the MSS audit situation is not ideal. We're a little behind. When it comes to auditing, oftentimes we get a little bit of not resistance, but the auditor does well to answer, or you will be dealing with the past VP finances, and you will have to kind of liaise some of their audits. How would you go about it if something comes up that one of the past VP finances doesn't cooperate, or the auditor is not responding?
Okay, thank you for the question. That's a very good question. And in general, I'm a team player, right? I do believe in a holistic approach in everything. So if I do get, she's laughing, okay. So if I do get elected as a VP Finance, the first thing I do if I face such a problem is that I'll come back to my other executive members. I will discuss it with them. And it's basically a problem that anyone could face. And when I face such a problem, I would sit down with myself. I would understand why the problem happened. Every problem has a cause. If you understand the cause, that you can definitely solve the problem. Which is telling me 30 seconds again. Okay, I'll go fast. I will come up with potential solutions. I'll discuss with the executive members. We'll come up with a solution, and yeah, I hope that answers your question. Any other questions? Okay, I don't need the 15 seconds. I'm done.
Anyone else have a question?
Okay, yes, Naila.
I just had a question. So as a member of the exec committee this year, I saw how time-consuming the position was. Davide was solicited by literally every other person on the exec, and especially because of the position that we're in, where we're behind on audits, there's a lot of extra hours to be put in, and I'm just wondering how do you think you're going to be able to manage that in third year as a group?
Okay, thank you for the question. Again, I would like to thank Davide. I talked to him, I talked to other people. I know that he really worked hard last year. He made the situation a lot better. That being said, problems could arise at any time. And I would like to quote something that happened to me before starting med school. So I was a little worried if I was going to be able to continue my lifestyle, like whatever I do, sports, gym, going out with friends, with med school, because I heard that med school there's a lot of it's very taxing on time. And I was talking to one of my friends, she's a resident, and she gave me like such a good advice, and I'd like to give you the same advice. Okay. Is that you have to make priorities, right? So med school and medicine in general is like a sea of knowledge. You can never know everything. I mean, unless you're like some people, but in general, you can never know everything. And the most important thing is to prioritize, and then you have to make time for everything, and then around that time you study and you do medicine. Because medicine is an integral part of your life, but it can't really take over your life. So I will prioritize. I will make finance one of my priorities. Okay, I'm done. Okay, I hope that answered your question, Ken. Any other questions?
Can I ask one more question?
Okay, Davide.
This is based a bit on something similar that happened this year. So let's say a student comes up to you who's organizing an event with the MSS and spent $500 on, let's say, a piece of equipment that would be a pretty event, or lost a receipt. How do you go about taking care of that?
Okay, that's a very good question, and I would like to say a small anecdote that that might kind of answer this question. Everyone loses receipts. I mean, me personally, I lose everything, right? I lose receipts, I lose everything. Not money though, I'm good with money. But I know, jokes aside, everyone can lose a receipt, right? So obviously what I won't do is that I will like blame him, judge him, say that maybe he didn't buy it, or maybe like I would never go down this path. But I'll try to find a solution in order to to get a document that would prove that he got this thing. And the anecdote is that I didn't lose, I bought headphones, and these headphones, they broke, and then I obviously lost the receipt, right? And then 6 months after, I went to the guy who sold me the headphones, and I told him that I lost my headphones, what can I do? And he told me there's nothing to do, whatever, you need the receipt. But I was like, I'm sure there's something that you can do. We talked about it. I sat down with myself, I thought about it, and I went to the bank, right? I talked to the bank manager. I told him, I paid with a Visa card, and I told him, can you get the receipt for the Visa card? So I'm always, okay, time's over. So anyway, my point is there's always a way around it. You just need to find that way. I hope that answered your question.
If anyone has any other questions, please feel free to post on Hassan's Facebook page so we can answer one.
Or not.
Okay, we're going to move on to the MSS executive president candidates. So we're going to start off with Leanne, and then we will go with Adele. Also, just a quick thing, right after this, we're going to go to the we're going to start off with the Med 4 Council, and then we'll proceed in the regular order that I had already mentioned at the beginning.
Bonjour tout le monde, je m'appelle Léane et je suis une candidate à la présidence du MSS cette année. So what's important to know about my platform is that it's not necessarily about having a new vision. It's more about making sure that what's been well done in the past years is sustainable and is also institutionalized. So if you've read my platform, you know that one of the main points is about doing a midterm report of the 2017-2020 strategic plan. Why? Because I believe we need to realign it, and it'll be based on student feedback and roundtables. So it's important because it'll be based on a participatory approach. It'll imply what you guys want, and it'll basically what concrete changes you guys want will shape the MSS's agenda for the next few years, may it be related to wellness or IT or communications or social or whatever. As I believe that if I'm elected, I'll be surrounded by an array of vice presidents who are more than capable. You've probably seen that my platform does not include any idea that would restructure their own platform. It's also important because the excellent work that was done by the last few years council, we don't want it to go to waste. And in order to not get it to go to waste, we have to anchor change in a sustainable manner and ensure that each year for the future will bring change to the table. Now, apart from this, I've also focused my platform on other things such as communications and representation, and also transparency and accountability, so please do check it out on the internet. Thank you.
Within the Constitution are provisions on how to impeach or remove MSS council members. Would you ever use this approach in your leadership of the MSS? And if so, under what circumstances?
I think this is a situation that warrants more than just my opinion. So I think I would definitely have a meeting. First off, try to speak with that person. Second off, have a meeting with what is considered right now to be the board of directors, which is, I believe, VP Finance, executive vice president, and also the president. By the way, check out my platform. I'm actually thinking of maybe considering creating a board of directors, but check out my platform. And also, so I would consult with that, because basically what a board of directors is to make the council accountable. So that, seeing as someone would not, for example, do their job or whatever, I would make sure to work with this, which is what we call conseil d'administration in French, I would maybe take this step if necessary after consulting with others. Okay, so I believe that my platform is based more on long-term change and sustainability, institutionalization, and for me, that's what the role of a president is. In my opinion, a role of president isn't necessarily to give ideas in other VPs' platforms, because that's their job. But my role as president is to support the other VPs, and for sure, for example, after let's say after the midterm report of the 2017-2020 strategic plan, it comes out that, let's say, there's a clear lack in wellness. Well, of course, I would work with the VP Wellness, and of course, together we would tackle the issue. Now, I think what distinguishes me is the fact that what I want to do is more make sure that the future and make sure that what has been done in the past years will stay and is not something that might change from year to year. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
When you spoke about your speech and platforms, really is your idea to turn the board of directors. So as it stands, it's going to be those are 4 people from next year, so you mentioned plus secretary. But I think your idea was to have non-members on it, people who are not in MSS. You would kind of restructure the hierarchy in MSS, the general council and the general assembly at the top. Now we have a board of directors on the probably super MSS. So how do you see that playing out democratically when you have non-elected members, or what do you think it would bring?
So the point, in my opinion, this whole thing is still to be discussed. In my platform, I've said more like evaluate the possibility of and the role, like it's to be discussed. However, what I believe for the board of directors, it would be to benefit from, for example, alumni's experience, have people that aren't part of the MSS. That's the point of a board of directors. And what I think it will do, which is beneficial, is I think it will make the executive council accountable. I think, yes, it is a restructuration, but it's a necessary restructuration for some reasons, such as the fact that currently I feel like the executive council has a bit too much power, and also there might be some conflict of interests in this whole, as we've said before, seeing as it's 4 people who are on the council who are considered as being the board of directors, it would make more sense to have it to be external, such as any other company, seeing as we're incorporated or non-profit. Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned, just to clarify, you mentioned conflicts of interest in the executive council. Could you please clarify your thoughts?
Yes, so a very hypothetical situation is, let's say this year there was a problem with Amanda, which is not the case, but let's say, okay, and now now let's say the board of directors is Davide, Amanda, and Liang. Let's say we had to kick out Amanda. This is all very hypothetical, okay? but let's say we had to kick out Amanda. There is a clear conflict of interest here with Davide being on the board of directors, etc.
I'll just make one comment. I think that a big part of being part of council is about being professional and setting aside your personal life and working together that way. So, good point. But I think also part of being an executive also about being professional and making sure those conversations don't actually come to life. But good point.
Yes. I agree. Very agree. Good. Should I call that in?
Okay. So hi everybody, for those who don't know me, I'm Adele, I'm a Med1, I'm running for MSS Executive President. So a bit of my background, so over the last few years I have been founder and co-founder of 2 very successful startups, the first one being currently in the Dobson Cup finals, and the second one is producing videos that are currently being seen in more than 70 countries, surgical videos. I'm also a national officer at the Canadian Federation of Medical Students, and I have been in my student council at INSTIGEP. So as you can see, I have a lot of experience in leading organization and how to implement projects, evaluate projects, implement and evaluate projects, exactly. So my platform is in three main points, and I developed it with by talking with a lot of Med 1, Med 2, Med 3, Med 4s, and members of the executive councils. So my first point is about strengthening the MSS by implementing the new constitution and by bringing new policies to make the MSS move forward. My second point is about improving the communication between the MSS and the student body in order to always be building on feedback, also to be better advocates for you. And my third point is about providing better service for the MSS members, by example, by working with the VP IT or the VP Wellness, by doing a clerkship database, for example, or a wellness section on the website. So, j'aimerais juste remercier de m'avoir écouté et dire bonne chance à tous les candidats, entre autres Léon. Merci beaucoup. Okay, so yeah, Léon. Thank you.
My first question, within the Constitution are provisions on how to impeach or remove MSS council members. Would you ever use this approach in your leadership of the MSS? And if so, under what circumstances?
Okay, that's a great question. So we must just understand why we have this option to impeach a member of the executive council. It's when somebody is not doing a great job, somebody is slacking off the work, he must be removed from the council in order to have a better moving council. So we must stay accountable for our constituency, and when somebody is not doing the job on the council, we must first tackle the problem with the person and see if there's something going on in his life, an issue with him. And if there's really no collaboration, nothing where we can find a common ground between each other, we will be obligated to go with the constitution and start the impeachment process. And I think that we should really do this in a transparent manner, communicate with the students about their concern, doing surveys, and really stay with the constitution. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, other question.
Well, second question. What distinguishes you from the other candidates for executive president, and why are you the better candidate?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. So I think, yeah, always great question from Liang. Yeah, but yeah, I think that what distinguishes myself from from the other candidates is that I have a great deal of experience. So over the last years, I have worked in many startups, and I have brought startups from nothing to something that is viewed from 70 countries in the world, a surgical educational tool, or another startup in about patient satisfaction that is now we are talking with big stakeholders in the government, and we are at Dobson Cup finals. So I think that this experience is really shown me how to bring something to lead people and how to collaborate in a multidisciplinary team. Also, I have worked in the Canadian Federation of Medical Students, so I know the challenges of working in a big student council in something very complex, but something that I learned over the last year working as a national officer, as well as working in a smaller council in my CGEP. So I think that's one of my great points. Thank you. Next question.
I want to ask a similar question to the candidate. I'm going to rephrase it a bit than what you talked about. So you talked about the new constitution and all that. What are your thoughts on the way the MSS is structured, where maybe the executive council has a lot of power, concentration of power in the hands of some people, including the president? And how do you see that role playing out? Would you think of having a board of directors or members, or have some other approach to balance power in the MSS?
Yeah, good. So one of the first, thank you for the question. And one of the first things that came in my mind when I read about the new constitution is that it resembles a lot about the constitution of the CFMS, for example. So what the constitution made basically, so what they did is that they made the executive council smaller, and they put put new officers around the executive council in the general council. So I think that's a great idea because it allows to have the power between less people, yes. But it allows to have a better communication between each people that are the stakeholder in the executive council. So I think that's a great approach, but there's issues about balancing power, as you said. So that's true. Something that have been in the strategic plan is an option to have a board of director, and I think that's a great option because it will allow us to bring external people that have no bias about the MSS in it, and to help to bring better solution and to have an objective view about the MSS. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to move on to the Med 4 Council. Because they have surgery tomorrow morning and they need to sleep and they've been up since 4 a.m. So let's give them a round of applause for just being here.
Where's the camera? We need to speak to the people at home.
It's very flattering. Yes.
Perfect. Awesome. So we'll do it together. We'll do fast.
What? You don't need to put it that much in my face. Okay, so hello 2019ers, thank you for coming in such good number in this room. Shout out to everybody still at the hospital.
Like the one person watching.
Yeah, like between two discharge summaries, something like that.
Perfect. So thank you so much for accommodating us to come a little bit earlier. Like the majority of our council has been awake since 4 a.m. And it would be good for them to get some sleep. So like last year, our council is running unopposed. The main thing that we want our people on the computer to realize is just to read up on our platform, know that we're here for you guys. Next year's a big one because we have LMCC, we have CARMS, we have, and of course the most important one, which is grad ball, and it's going to be better and bigger than ever. Well, not the CARMS. But so the important thing that I want to drive home today is mostly that as Med 3s and Med 4s, we kind of get a little bit detached from the MSS, and it's not anybody's fault. It's just the challenge of being at a different site. And what's important for us to know is that like it's really cool to see refreshing faces and these awesome speeches and these motivative speeches that you guys are having planned ideas for the future of the MSS, because Med 4 is a very big collaborative year between the General Council, Executive Council, and the Class Council because of all the planning that goes around these events that I just mentioned. And so what I wanted to just like drive home is thank you so much for being involved with the MSS. For you guys, like we not only give a speech for my people because my people have the information that they need, but please keep staying involved. It's super exciting. I'm really excited. We're actually, the entire council is excited to work with you next year, and good luck with the speeches and good luck to all the candidates tonight. For my people, just read the 2019 council.weebly.com. Awesome. Thank you. Bye. Good luck.
Short and sweet. Okay. Okay, we're gonna move on to the VP IT. Well, the IT officers. Sorry. Is he beginning? Okay, so Nico will start, and Ali will go outside.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Nico. I'm in Med 1. Basically, just in this 1 minute and a half, just want to reiterate the 3 points I've made, which you can read up on my platform, on the website, and on the Facebook event. Basically, I think I have some really great ideas, some great initiatives. Again, you can read. I'm not going to go into specifics, but basically, website improvements, website publicity, and annex improvements. But that kind of leads me to my second point, which is increasing feedback. Because I think I have great points. I think Ali also has some great ideas, maybe a bit less great, but still great. But also other candidates on the have great ideas, and the whole point is to increase feedback and to get everyone's thoughts and ideas, because that's how you make, let's say, a website or any of the other systems better, is being able to take all those feedback and doing good things with it. And lastly, and my main point is that I want to emphasize the fact that I'll be responsive, and I have time next year not being in clerkship. I'm in Med 2, and thanks. And I'll get things done quickly and properly, and I'll finish things even early, like this speech. Thanks. open to questions.
Do you have any questions? Yes.
Thanks for the speech. It's just good to get a brief description of what experience you had.
Yeah. So also on my platform is the fact that throughout my education I've taken different electives. No actual, well, it's still considered formal education, but it's just been electives here and there in Java, in SQL and HTML. Main experience in HTML was this past summer. I worked on a research project, and part of it was making websites which were hosted on the McGill server, mcgill.ca/blah blah blah, and also creating surveys. But that's my experience with HTML. I have a ton of interest in tech and other stuff like that, and just in terms of daily experience, I mean, a lot of people just come to me daily, not maybe daily, but weekly, with different questions or problems that they might have, and I'm always happy to help them. And I mean, I can't talk on their behalf, but maybe, anyways, this is now going off, so just gonna end it there. I'm better behind a computer than in front of this podium.
So based on kind of what Ali's done in the past, maybe like the media reports, I don't know if you read them, what can you do differently than him or add to that?
Well, that's a good question. Thank you. I mean, it just hashtag it down. I think Ali has actually done a really great job, especially over the past 2 years, getting the website up and running. And I mean, a ton of the things he's done, like not taking away anything from him. I think there are small improvements that can be made. I'm not advocating for like a huge change in, the way the Annex PlayStation works or the website or anything. Sorry, I haven't looked at the site either. I'm not like advocating some huge changes. I think small improvements can be made. And going back to the fact that feedback is really important, I want to open up channels of communication between the students and myself and the council. And having those channels allows for better ideas to be brought to the table. Thanks.
We have a Facebook page, and now the Murmur, and we have a website. How do you see the place of the website with all of these other resources? And how do you see it in the future, changing roles, or just being a place for offering, for example, of other resources?
Yeah, I think the website is on its way and should be the central location, as also is, I believe, said in the 2017 to 2020 strategic goals of the MSS. The goals are to have the website be the main place for all those communications, and the more it's used, the more it's publicized and everything, which I want to help do, the more people will go to the website to get all that different stuff. And you mentioned Osler notes. Like, yeah, some people don't know that they're there, or don't know that they can subscribe to the calendar, don't know all these small features. That's part of my platform that I want to publicize it more, and hopefully have the website become that central resource, because I mean, yeah, like I think it's helpful to have a central resource. So I think that's where the website is headed and where it should be. Thanks.
So hi everyone. If you don't know me yet, my name is Hassan. No, that's a joke. So my name is Ali. I'm running for VP IT. I'm just going to start by telling you what I've done in the past 2 years. So 2 years ago, I don't think there are any Met 3s here, but 2 years ago. Oh, okay. So you can testify that before I started, there used to be a very outdated, slow, non-responsive website, and then these guys had to start doing their own website through ACE, courtesy of ACE, that was built on Wix, which had its own limitations. So I ran for this position 2 years ago just to improve the website and get away with the two websites and just compile them into one. And I think right now it's gone to its final phase. It has a lot of cool functionalities. You can vote on it. You can classify it's working perfectly. There's a calendar. You can reserve the annex automatically, and VP Annex can easily approve or disapprove it. A lot of cool things. And it's very easy to right now to look through the website and criticize it and say, okay, there's a problem with here, there's a problem there are broken links or whatever. And I just want to clarify that over the past 2 years, the website was built with 0 pages to, I don't know, like 200, 300 pages. So it's very easy that like things get slipped through and like you don't notice and things are broken or things are not updated. And now that the website is finalized, it's time to now expand on the content and just anything that is lacking and you guys think that it would meet your needs.
Okay, so thank you for your platform. So yes, you've been involved for 2 years. One thing is next year you'll be a Med 3. Med 3 comes with clerkship, a lot more responsibilities, a lot less flexibility when it comes to doing all the things that you have to do, such as making sure the elections, like voting for elections is out on time, and all of these different features that are very time sensitive, especially when it comes to the VP IT role. How do you feel you'll be able to manage all of this as a Med 3 as opposed to, for example, legal being a Med 2 and having more time on his hands?
Okay, so very quick answer. Last year when I decided to run again, it was the same dilemma. Everyone told me like you're a Med 1, now you're going to go to Med 2, TCP and everything. How are you going to deal with that? Some of you know, some of you don't. When I started medicine, I also started my own business, which is a restaurant. It's very time consuming and it's a lot, 90% of the restaurants fail within the first year. Ours improved and now we have employees and everything. Not only that, but I was also able to manage continuing my master's degree alongside, which I'm still continuing, but thankfully it's going to end this semester. I'm going to graduate, so I had all those running together, and I still had a girlfriend. So I'm going to set my priorities. If I get elected, if I can't deal with it, I'm going to break up with my girlfriend. If that doesn't work, I would let the business go for itself. And then if that doesn't work again, then I would just give up the VP IT.
I'm so shocked.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Here's your phone. Okay, so the next person will be Jessie for Exec VP and Corporate Affairs.
All right, so hi everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jesse, and I'll be running for the Executive Vice President and Corporate Affairs of this year's MSS. So over the course of my student experience, I've always been actively involved in student life, up until last year, where I was the Vice President of Sponsorships and essentially Corporate Affairs for the MDSA, which is the Pre-Medical and Pre-Dental Student Society. So that task involved a lot of the same jobs that would be required of me this year, which included maintaining a lot of good relationships with a lot of the sponsors that actually support this year's MSS, and hopefully a lot of the others that don't, I can hopefully use that experience to my advantage. So given my experience and the nature of this position, my platform involves 3 basic areas. I want to reduce the cost of being a medical student, which is already expensive enough, increase the access to educational resources, and increase the transparency of the Constitution. So given that, I have 5 general ideas or themes that I would like to improve on, which is basically maintain a lot of the sponsorships and renew those relationships and keep them going, as well as also hopefully looking to create some new ones and find some new potential sponsors. Continue the great work that's already been done this year's council on ensuring basically the discounts on textbooks and other kinds of medical equipment like stethoscopes and EP cuffs, that kind of thing. Also try and keep the MSS relevant to clerks. I know that it gets harder as the years goes on to stay relevant, so hopefully continue on sponsorships that will promote, help with interview prep, and also discounts for textbooks on LNCC, stuff like that. continue to increase the transparency of the MSS and collaborate closely with the socials. So I know I don't have a lot of time, but you can see everything on my platform. Thank you all, guys. Questions?
So I'm just going to start off. So congratulations on your campaign. So just a few things I've noticed this year that I wanted to kind of ask you your opinion on was, so you mentioned how you want to make the MSS more relevant for clerks, which is always a very good thing, a very good idea to have. Often as a Med 1 and 2, we don't realize the extent to how much Med 3s and 4s actually have to spend when it comes to things like cost to apply to electives, traveling for electives, actually living when you're there on electives, CARMS application, CARMS tour, and this can be upward of like $10,000 over medical school, probably double that. So how do you have any ideas other than discounts on textbooks and ideas on how you can lighten their load when it comes to cost for all of these necessary expenses?
Sure. So, well, thanks for the question. Obviously, in that regards, there's nothing that I could guarantee, but there's obviously a lot of things that I could look into doing, or hopefully, like, can try and collaborate with in terms of sponsors. So obviously, a big part of that is travel. A big part of that is lodgings. A big part of that is, like you mentioned, all that stuff, the expenses spent abroad. So it would be a big part of it looking to diversify a lot of our sponsors and where we're getting that money, and to maybe companies would be interested in giving discounts on certain things, or to supply a certain amount of, let's say, some kind of compensation for students who need to do a lot of travel, lodging elsewhere, that kind of thing, as terms I can think of, and also try and think of maybe more creative things on the spot that I haven't thought of yet, but look into to try and bring in more funding.
Okay, so I'll have another one. So as Brian had mentioned, this year I worked very closely with the Med 4 Council when it came to fund their grad ball. I was lucky because I had a very good relationship with all of the members of the Med 4 Council before I was on council. How would you go about creating a strong relationship between the Med 4 Council and with your role to ensure that you can help maximize how much you can help them?
Okay. Well, I guess in terms of that, it would be, to try and collaborate with them. I see Brian over there, who's going to be, I think, the Med 4 rep next year. So, it's just essentially going to be pretty much. So, getting to know the president, that's it. So, collaborating with Brian, thinking especially what ideas he has, ideas I have, trying to get more sponsors for that grad ball, get more funding, essentially stuff like that. And I think you said in terms of kind of helping that relationship, I'm definitely open-minded. I'm open to any ideas they have, any suggestions they have in making it better. And I would look forward to that. So, thanks, guys.
Okay, so Maddie for secretary.
Just start. Okay, so hi, I'm Maddie. I'm going for this year's VP Secretary. A little bit about myself first. I was VP Secretary at the MDSA, so Med-P-Dent-P Student Association. This year I hold positions on the Talent Show Committee, where I'm also basically being a secretary, and and the Med Games, where I'm technically VP Corporate Affairs, but also technically being a secretary. So basically I have the experience that you guys will want. I'm really organized, and I keep my agenda cleaner than my room, so that's definitely good. Oh, and a bit about what I wanted to do. So my platform you guys have seen, it's on the website. If not, one thing I really want to do is address the calendar, because I feel like people see it and they have to scroll down, but you can't really personalize it. So I want to declutter your lives and make sure that if you have interests such as surgery, you'll have a little hashtag surgery when you send it in to go for an event. You'll have your little event, your little hashtag surgery, and then if you're interested in that, you'll have all of the surgical like interest groups for you present on your calendar, so it's more personalized, and other groups you're not really interested won't like clutter your day, so you actually know what you want to do and can actually go to them without having to think of like 12 other events at the same time. That's basically it.
So the secretary position is a position that we decided to add this year to lighten the load for the executive vice president, VP internal, and VP finance. And we thought that this would be, all of the responsibilities would be perfectly encompassed by this role. One of the roles that I had that will now become yours is organizing general and executive council meetings. So how would you go about, so let me give you like a hypothetical situation. You send out the executive council meeting schedule very much in advance, and the day of the executive council meeting, you send everyone back an email saying, reminding them to be there. And you show up and half of your council is missing. How would you approach the situation?
Okay, so that basically happened every single time at MDSA with always people missing. So what I would do is either one, we tried Skyping people in, which never really worked well. So what I would try to do is either one, take really good minutes, have them log on to their like laptop somewhere they're not, make it a Google Doc like usual, so they can kind of follow along with the meeting, and if they have any input, they could either contact me by phone or contact me in other ways. In terms of their attendance, I don't think making everyone wait for them to come and arrive would be necessarily a beneficial or efficient like of our time, because everyone's really busy. So if they don't show up, we'd obviously have, first of all, we have to talk to them as to why they didn't show up. It could be like an emergency meeting, whatever problem with the family, but I think communication is really simple if you just kind of contact them on the side and kind of incorporate them that way. So I don't think it'd be too much of an issue. If it's recurring, then yeah, but if it's 1 or 2 times, it's very easily done.
Okay, VP Internal Affairs, Sonia.
Hi everyone, I'm Sonia, so I'm running for a position of VP Internal Affairs. Do I have to stand here? I've been on the council before, so last year I was VP at Academics in the MedP Council with Alex, and that experience really solidified for me the importance of communication between a council and a student body. It also made me realize that I genuinely like talking to you and hearing what you have to say, hearing about your cool initiatives, and doing what I can to help your projects come to fruition. So my platform is pretty simple. It centers around efficient communication and accessible information. A few of my ideas would be to make minor adjustments to the Murmur email that Annie has always done very well and is already pretty excellent. But I'd like to add a calendar at the top of the email so you know what's upcoming in the week and what events are coming up in the coming days so you can plan your week. I'd also like to give you an option to click directly on the table of contents, and it would be a link that brings you directly to the event that you are interested in, because not everyone has time to read the Murmur from top to bottom like Davidan. I'd like to also increase MSS social media activity with collaboration from IT officer to post cool or exciting new initiatives that are taken on by MSS students. Regarding clubs, I'd like to add or review the club application process a little bit so we can reduce redundancy between the clubs and reduce overlap, but also improve inter-club collaborations. If there's anything else you want to see, you'll see it on my platform. a very good question. Well, I'd obviously work with IT officer. I'm not as tech savvy as maybe Nico or Ali are. But in regards to social media, I'm probably more addicted to my phone than I should be. So social media is something that I'm on often. I would work with IT officer, like I said, to make people understand why it's important and kind of, I think it's interesting when you're on social media and you see something that you like or that's inspiring or that you find stimulating or inspiring, and if we can bring those kinds of stories or articles to our students, then it would just enhance your experience as an MSS member. So that would be the goal.
So over this year, we've encountered some issues, like particularly within the first year class, where certain people aren't able to access the Facebook groups where a lot of these club events and a lot of just information about research, etc. are posted. How would you make sure that people who don't have Facebook or don't want to use social media, because apparently it has bad effects on women, how would you make sure that those people have the same access to the information provided on the platform?
Right, so I think you guys have already started doing this, but the whole idea with the murmurs being sent by email is to declutter the Facebook notifications, which already are difficult to follow. I think with the new website that we've made, the idea is to make it a central source of information, and if we can make it more accessible and more visible to the students, then it's a much better information output platform that people could use. And I also thought we could add a link for the MSS website on the UGME main page at the bottom, because there's all like my MBCM and all those things, and oftentimes people don't even know what the MSS website URL is. So if we can add a link and people know where to go find it, it would make it easier for people to access that information.
Okay, so VP Medical Education, Alex Cohen.
Okay. Hi guys, so for those who don't know me, my name is Alex Cohen and I'm running to be your VP Medical Education. Medical education is something that I'm really passionate about. So last year I was VP Academics of the MedP-DentP Student Association, and this year I've been serving as Med1 Academic Rep. So in my time as Academic Rep, I feel that I've gained a lot of skills that will be really beneficial in a VP of Medical Education. So first of all, I participated in student leadership meetings and in the Medical Education Committee meetings. So I gained a really interesting perspective on issues faced not only by my own class, but also by the Med 2, 3, and 4 students. Also, I developed a relationship with members of the UGME team, and I gained experience in advocating for the educational concerns of my classmates. This past year, I hopefully earned the trust and confidence of the members of the Med 1 class, so next year I hope to extend that to the rest of my fellow students by advocating on your behalf, and also by just being accessible to all of you and being well informed so I can answer all of your questions, which is something that I really love to do. So, I won't dwell too much on my platform because that's something you can easily see on Facebook and on the website, but just to give you a little summary, I plan to advocate for the implementation of curricular changes based on feedback that has been made over the past several years by the previous medical classes. I also hope to advocate for the unmatched graduates, which is obviously a huge issue right now, particularly for their request for the extension of their clinical year by 1 year, and also for the extension of their student status, and finally improve communication between myself and all of you, and between you and the UGME office. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you for your support.
Alright, so the Medical Education Committee has grown a lot since its creation a year and a half ago, and many of the current student reps were appointed before this committee existed. Considering their attendance has been rather low for some of them to the ECOM monthly meetings. So as the future chair of this committee, I would encourage the active participation of all members on this committee.
Well, it's a good question. I definitely have noticed that, having been part of the committee this year, and I definitely would like to see attendance go up so we can actually be reaching out to the people who are part of those committees. First of all, I need to reach out to the entire student body to figure out who actually those representatives are. I know that was an issue at the beginning of the year that we weren't actually aware of who sat on each of these committees. So step one is figuring that out. At that point, it would be reaching out to each of those people individually. I think personalizing the messages is super important because otherwise it kind of gets lost in the shuffle, especially if they're in Med 3 and 4 and they're really busy. So just personalize to them why I think it's really important for them to be in attendance, particularly at meetings when issues relevant to them are presented, but even at meetings that are not, because we're always valuing their opinions. And hopefully by just reaching out to them one-on-one, we'll have a better response. That's really it.
My second question for you is, as part of your role, you'll sit on different committees where you will discuss the student feedback and all this curriculum. And faculty may at times completely disagree with you based on some valid reasons that you might not be able to discuss freely with the rest of the student body due to the confidential nature of those meetings. So how can you best represent your fellow students without losing your trust and the responsibilities they've given you when you cannot explain to them or you cannot push for which committee to see?
I think that's a very fair question, and definitely one that's difficult to tackle while respecting all the different parties involved in the whole thing. So I'd say the first step is learning from the faculty who I am able to share this with. Am I able to speak with members who are in leadership positions or members of the educational committee? I would hope that they would agree to speaking with the educational committee and the reps who are on various other committees, and that way at least I could get the perspective of students who have been chosen to represent the rest of the student body. Of course, my goal is to be as transparent as possible, which is why part of my platform involves keeping students up to date more frequently. Because I'd spoken to some students at the GA informally who told me that they felt that they didn't really know what was going on in terms of educational advocacy. And so when possible, I'd certainly like to be as transparent as possible, hopefully make some sort of post on Facebook groups or on the MSS page once a month with just a general update of what's going on in the educational committee. Unfortunately, some things will need to be left off at first, but hopefully eventually down the line I'll be able to inform people of the decisions that were made and who was involved so they can kind of understand where that whole thought process came from.
Another quick question. When the opinions completely differ between the faculty usually and the students, how can you best advocate for the students without alienating the faculty and just seeing you as a criticizer who complains all the time?
That's definitely something that I think I've observed occurring this year and that I've been a part of this year, so I feel I can shed some light on that in a few ways. Obviously, the goal is to try to find some sort of compromise that both the faculty and the students can agree on or understand that we're kind of just doing the best we can with our own positions and our own situations. So obviously that's a bit of an issue that we face with unmatched graduates and the school's perspective on some of their concerns regarding how it will impact the Med 3 and 4 students. And I think an interesting way that was also brought forth was by bringing it to a GA and hearing from the students whether they were willing to take some sacrifices like that, which in this case they were. So now we can kind of bring it back forth to the office and kind of work on the next step and how can we sort of manipulate this so that everyone is satisfied with the outcome. It's definitely something I faced this year as well. Like regarding challenges with Block E, I kind of had to toe the line in terms of interacting with members of the faculty and differing opinions. And I feel that in the end we were able to communicate the interests, and now we're working towards building a different version of Block E that hopefully will be structured a bit differently for future years.
Okay, VP Wellness, Bianca.
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Bianca. I'm running for VP Wellness. And in my first year of medical school so far, I've faced some of the worst lows of my life. Feelings of fear, anxiety, sadness, and stress. A list that I'm sure is not unfamiliar to many of you. But in my first year as a med student, I've also experienced some of the best feelings of my life and some of my happiest memories. And I feel like sometimes the balance is hard to maintain. But what I've learned over the past year is that maintaining your wellness is critical, and keeping the things that keep you well close to you is of crucial importance. That's why the first point of my platform is to advocate for the things that keep you well. So as your representative, my priority would be to listen to your concerns and advocate for them so that I can implement resources and activities that target them specifically. So I promise that my inbox and ears will always be open to your concerns. The second major point of my platform is to promote open conversation about mental health, because talking about it is what helps people reach out to the resources that they need to help them in a time of need. So I would do this by promoting the use of the Pulse Tracker, wellness blog, and possibly a new wellness webpage on the MSS website. And the last point of my platform is to work closely with the MSW Standing Committee in order to continue to organize activities such as therapy dogs, cooking classes, and sports activities that bring together all members of the MSS into a supportive wellness community. So I'd be really touched and honored to be elected as your VP Wellness, and I promise to do my best to keep you all well.
So I thought you had a lot of good ideas, but I was just wondering, how do you intend to transpose them for Med 3 and Med 4 students, considering their internship, have different schedules, and they're not on site?
Okay, so one thing I would think of doing for the Med 3s and Med 4s is first of all reach out to their class representatives to get a sense of what clerks would feel would be best to help them in their wellness, because wellness is something that I find is really personal. So there are different activities that might help different people, and maybe organizing activities later in the evening, such as movie nights or things, to bring in the clerks after hours, after their shifts, so they can relax and just talk to people about things. So also maybe support groups and things like that, but later in the evening so that it caters to their schedules.
I have a few questions for you. So as the wellness, a big part of your mandate is to direct connection with faculty and like the policy making, and so you're required to attend a lot of meetings like EdCom, like Wally, LEAD, and student leadership. And so I was just wondering how do you kind of use these opportunities to the advantages for the wellness?
Okay, so to start off, I've heard a lot of mixed opinions about the wellness curriculum as a whole, so one of the first things that I'd like to do is reach out to you guys, to the students, to get your feedback on what you think about it, and do my best to tell the faculty what students feel is lacking and what they feel is helping them in terms of the wellness curriculum particularly, and just students' feelings about the curriculum in general and how they feel they're handling the stress of it, if maybe it's too heavy. So I really want it to be student-based in the sense that it's for you guys. So that's what I'd focus on.
And my second question is like every year with like the number of unmatched students increasing, so and for class math is a very big concern for like students of all years. So I was wondering, like, as the wellness, what specific actions would your role undertake?
Okay, so, well, I know the Unmatched talk is going on right now in the auditorium next door, which I would have loved to attend, but I think that is something that is super helpful for people to go to. So events like that where people can talk about their fears and their experiences with the CARMS match, just to get people to kind of like come together in their difficulties, and out of that, get people to express their feelings, and really, like, when you have the same difficulties as other people, you can come up with solutions to like to better address the problems. So stuff like that.
All right. Hi everyone. My name is Julie. I'm running for VP Global Health Senior. I'm your current VP Global Health Junior, and this year I've really appreciated being able to work with a large team of students on various global health and public health portfolios. This year we've strived as a committee to create large, impactful, long-term and sustainable projects that will be beneficial for both the student body at McGill as well as for the communities that we're going to be working with. So this year we created the Chasm Incubator with the help of several students, including David Dunn, which connects student-led projects in the community, in historically marginalized communities, with funding, curriculum, and mentors at McGill. We also laid the groundwork for a student-run clinic as well as for a global health mentorship program, which we hope to launch at the beginning of next year. So those are large projects. We created, we've made a lot of change in the past year, but there's still a lot of work to be done. So the focus for next year will hopefully to be expanding on those projects, as well as implementing 2 new special projects, which are the Global Health Certificate, which would be mirrored on similar programs across the country, as well as a launching initiative to support students from underrepresented groups in their application to med school. So I hope that you guys vote for me. I think there's still a lot that can be done in global health at McGill, so I'm excited to get started on that. Thank you. Yes, Korai.
Hi, Julie. My name's Korai. I'm the current VP Global Health Senior. And so I have two quick questions. One is, in the past few years, as well as this year, it's been difficult to engage the IFMSA and CFMS local officers in a meaningful way. Where they feel like they're really involved and have a sense of community from the global health program, and that's an area where I consider myself as having failed. How do you plan on improving this and building a better sense of community from the local officer network here next year?
So I think one of the problems that we had this year with that is that when we had our meetings, everyone had their own portfolio, and there are like several portfolios within IFMSA and CFMS, including human rights and peace, public health, global health, indigenous health. So everyone's working on their own kind of projects. I would like next year to make it more of a kind of interdisciplinary project type thing. So we would have our monthly meetings and then start having everybody contribute during those meetings to a single project that is relevant to every portfolio, and hopefully that will bring everybody together. From CFMS versus IFMSA, they are quite similar portfolios, so hopefully we can work together on these projects as well within both streams.
Yeah. So in the past year, I'm of the impression that the general student body has grown accustomed to a certain degree of charm and charisma and good looks for all the people can. My actual second question is the relevance of global health as an executive position was debated this year. Can you please briefly make the case to the room as to why global health is a relevant portfolio to continue to exist on the MSS executive and why it's important?
Yes, that's an excellent question, actually. So McGill, the medical curriculum at McGill is severely lacking in global health to begin with. We have a pretty good public health curriculum, but in terms of global health, we only have a handful of lectures on it. So actually gaining exposure to global health comes into the hands of the students. So I think that having a committee on this is extremely important. We also tend to represent public health. It's been a debate both at IFMSA and CFMS on what exactly global health is to us, because a lot of what we end up doing is public health. So having a committee that can represent the populations that we're going to be working with and that can help us better be prepared to work with these populations is extremely important going forward. And I would say is possibly just as important as wellness and academics, because we are going to be working with people from marginalized communities, from underserved communities, and hopefully some of us around the world. So, sorry, I have to end, but it's very important.
Okay, so VP Student Space, Laurel?
Hello everyone, my name is Laurel Walfish. Many of you might think my last name is actually Alexandra, but I just want to set that straight right now. It's Walfish, and I'm running to be your student space officer. So I have many ideas that I hope that you guys had a chance to read my platform, but I really just wanted to make it a place of comfort. So if you've seen me around school or know me at all, I really like to be comfortable. I kind of show up every day in like leggings and a sweatshirt. So I want to spread that comfort to the annex, to the 5th floor room right here, the wellness room, and make the wellness station more accessible and better for everyone in our class and in all of med school. So I also want to hear your feedback throughout the year, not just my ideas that I have now, but ideas that do come up throughout the year and coming from all of you. For instance, last night I went to a post-match talk in the annex, and I think it took about 20 minutes to figure out how to get the whole system to work. So luckily I was there. I'm gonna make sure to put that and make sure it improves for next year. But just speaking with you guys and hearing feedback throughout the year would really improve everything as well. So for the next 30 seconds or so, I'm gonna try and put as much of my platform into this. I want to, 15 seconds, sorry. I want to bring in a whiteboard into the annex because I think it would be great to have more collaborative work done in there, and a whiteboard would really help to explain things to other people. Okay, that's it. So you can be my platform. Yes, thank you.
I wanted to ask you, one of the main challenges with the annex is that it's a little trouble to keep clean. There's a lot of events going on in there, and you have a storage room that is kind of a mess for now. So I just wanted you to comment on how you think you manage that, and you don't want to be considered for the annex, obviously. So how do you go about asking people to clean themselves after their events?
Well, as someone who's also booking who gets to use the annex, I will know exactly who's in charge of the event, and when I'm in touch with them, I think it'll be really important to reiterate how important it is to keep it clean, to make it to have future events. And I guess I could tell these people, if you're coming here for your committee and you want to come here again, you should leave this space as somewhere where other committees will want to come back, so you should have the same thing for yourself as well.
Hi, I'm Brian. I had a quick question. Our cohort inaugurated the Shimedidit as a way to kind of gather Med 1s to Med 4s together at the annex where we are so used to being. Again, Med 3s and Med 4s tend to distance themselves a bit from campus, and I was wondering how you want to keep that energy alive of trying to bring together the four cohorts, or get the clerks involved in the space that we have here.
Well, I guess just really publicizing these events and making it really clear to the Med 4s that they are going on, keeping in touch with you, I guess the president, to know what's going on in your schedule, to make sure that the time and date of all of this is really works well for you. I guess Med 1, Med 2, we're more flexible, so putting a date that really works for you guys would be my priority.
Thank you.
Right, so as you, I have a question for you. So this year, I personally had my laptop still in the annex. So given your limited budget, do you think it could be feasible maybe to install cameras or improve security features in
From the budget, I don't think cameras is really something that will work well right now. But I guess it could be something that I'd look into. But really, I think that med students, we should have a trust in each other, and I'm really sorry that this happened to you, and it really is bumming and it sucks. So in regards to that, I guess maybe making more organization in there, and if you put your laptop down, there could be more stations. Like, I don't know, I'm just thinking of one time when I went to a meeting and I put my bag in a corner, maybe if there was a corner that where all the bags were or something, if someone could watch it, and just making sure that everything is more organized would probably be more beneficial in that case.
Okay. All right. So our GAC officer.
Hi everyone. So about the laptop, so I lost it. Someone stole it at an event, but yeah, I was answering Brian. So I'm ZU. I'm running for a GAC officer, and so I'm running unopposed, but I still want to convince you to vote for me. So basically, I've been involved in the GAC for the past 2 years, so I think that gives me some experience about the inner workings, and I'm in touch quite often with MSS executive and general council members, so I sort of also know how the councils work, and so these are the things I'm interested in. I think I have the experience. I've gone to FMOQ meetings, and that gives me sort of an experience, and I think it's an important thing for the next GAC officer to have experience. So I'm looking forward to work with the VP External Canada, whoever it may be, the VP External Quebec, because I think those will be my center core colleagues with whom I will have to work with. And above all, I think it's going to be an electoral year. I think I'm very knowledgeable and passionate about politics. I keep up to date with whatever happens politically, whether at McGill, whether with our own faculty in Quebec and Canada. So I think I have the right skill set and the right experience to be the next GAC officer. So I hope I can earn your confidence, and I hope to deliver the goods at the end of next year. Thank you.
So for both the Canadian and the Quebec context, what do you expect to be the most important issues for the MSS to advocate for to be involved in political issues?
Right. So what I really liked about this year's council, MSS, is we've gone more and more political in terms of advocating for our members. So this is something I would personally like to see more and more happen. So in terms of Quebec and Canadian issues, I think the big issue, and it's been echoed throughout the night, is the unmatched issue. I think it's only going to get worse, and the solution can only come from like political top-down governments. So our role as a union is to really tell them, hey, look, there's a problem. You need to fix it, and if you don't fix it, we might have to make your life a little bit harder. For example, I really liked when the FMRQ went on teaching strike. Even though it affected a lot of clerks, I still think it's beneficial for residents and future residents, us, hopefully, if we match. So that's another issue we have to tackle. And so these are Canadian and Quebec issues. They apply to both. In terms of specifics, so there's an electoral year in Quebec. Canada, there's no electoral year, but we have certain policies coming up. Cannabis is one of them. It should be legalized within the next year if all goes well. So I guess these are the things I'm interested in and I want to work on. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel like I do this every year, but I get less and less funny every year, so
agreed.
I can keep up my reputation. Anyway, some of you may know me, most of you probably don't. My name is Angel Lemeni. I was SMU rep last year, and I'm running for senator this year, which is a similar position, a bit different. I won't go into the detail. The reason I'm running is not really about the senator portfolio, but more about being on the MSS. I think that my opinions were very, very valued this year in terms of being a reference for political and technical issues. And I think that I can bring that going forward to the next council. I think this is the more valuable part of my experience. What happens at SMU is not really that important. What happens at Senate is maybe also not that important. but really, like what we do in our faculty as a union is more important than what the university does. So I think that positions like mine, like the SMU rep, we're there to kind of keep an eye on other people, make sure everything's running smoothly, bring extra work. And I think that's where I come in. That's pretty much it. In terms of my plans for the year, I want to continue implementing what we passed at GA this year. We had a lot of political things that passed that are important. We have to keep working on and work with our future GAC officer, external Canada, external Quebec, the whole lot. I'm a very collaborative person, as everyone knows. So that's pretty much it. I'm ready to field any questions, and I apologize for the sore lack of jokes in this year's speech, but I'm getting old. So. Everyone's afraid of me, what can I say? Every year. All right, well, thanks. Vote for me.
Okay, our SMU rep, Kenzie, which is an important role on council and has lots of responsibility.
Hi, so I'm going to keep this really brief. My name is Kenzie, so, for those who don't know me, and I'm running for VP SMU rep. As Andre said, SMU might not be super relevant to medical students, but I definitely do believe that it's important that the MSS, as part of SMU, is represented within SMU and in all its meetings. And I will make it my responsibility to vote on whatever matters pertaining to medical students and to make sure that everyone's, I represent our best interests. And also to come back to MSS and tell them what's happening with SMU, especially everything that's relevant. Which also means telling you guys like what are the services that are available, because we do pay for SMU membership and we should know what's out there, and I hope to make that available. What Audrey has been doing is that he would do like a report at the end of like the meetings, that whatever happens at SMU, for it to be accessible on the MSS website. I want to continue doing that, and also perhaps putting the link to the report on the Murmur or something, so everyone has access to it. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, please feel free.
So thanks. I think I have a very good understanding of what you're no, seriously. So I think that the hard situation as SMU rep is you often have to make decisions and vote on things without having any information, so you can't consult anyone, you can't talk to students. So you're often faced with situations where you have your own personal opinion and what you think is right, and you think maybe that most students will disagree. So what's your thought process in this kind of situation?
Can I just ask you a quick question? Does you mean most students as in like legal students, or as in like
medicine? Yeah, your constituents. So your opinion and what you think is right is not the same as what you think maybe students should.
Well, that's an excellent question, but I definitely believe that I would be representing the medical students' opinion. I would put my opinion aside. I would try to reflect, and that's what I do with everything, is that I try to understand why the person in front of me might disagree with my own opinion. And I would try to reflect on like what would they think versus what do I think. Why do I think this? Why do they think this? And I would try to come to like a consensus to myself, basically, and try to be as objective as possible and vote on the best interests of the medical students.
It's true that MSS is a bit more removed from this SMU compared to SOS or AUS. Students are basically more back on and so I'm wondering, where do you see that SMU is actually able to provide our students with service, or where can students benefit from SMU being part of the
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last point.
Yeah, so how do you think as MSS members we can benefit from
That's a good question. I'm not personally too sure. I'd like to get more informed on that, and that would be my primary role, is to get informed of what exactly does it mean to be part of SMU as MSS members. We are all SMU members as well, so I'm pretty sure we have a lot of services available. And you're right, like I was going to make that joke how like there's a peel that separates us, but I'll try to like limit that gap. And by putting out there what's accessible, by first getting informed, so doing an excellent thing.
All right, so we're almost done, guys. Thank you for hanging in here. So the next to speak will be the Med 2 Class Council.
Do we still have 1.5 minutes?
No, you have
a little more? Like 4 seconds more?
Like 4 words on page.
Okay. Cool. Okay, whatever. Cool. So much pressure. Okay. So hi everyone. Thank you again for sticking around till 8:12. Much appreciated. So we're very excited to be running for the Med 2 Class Council. I'm joined by Sabrina, Gabe, and Bailey.
That's right.
So essentially, just to give you an idea of what I hope to bring to this position are two things, two priorities. My first is making sure that everyone in our class feels heard and supported. Whether it's regarding academic issues, personal issues, I want to have an open door policy. I want to be accessible to everyone with their concerns. And the second thing that I hope to continue building is our sense of community in the class, and that's through many various activities that'll gauge the interests of the various personalities we have in the class, and I'll let the others sort of speak on that.
All right, guys, so for those of you who don't know us, my name is Gabe, this is Sabs. We're super excited to be able to run for the class reps this year. We're kind of going to give you guys a bit of our vision of how we see what our role is, and obviously we want to hear your feedback after. So we separate it into 3 parts: 1 academics, 2 fundraising, and 3 social. Obviously, in terms of academics, Rishab is the man, for your concerns and whatnot. So we see our role more as is more like events for you guys. So things we want to organize, maybe with the ACE program, preparing for TCP, preparing for clerkship, USMLE, things like that.
So about the social role, so one of the biggest parts about Med2 social is the end of FMD party. Pretty self-explanatory, but basically it's a big party, the whole cohort comes together, and we really want to work on the theme of really being inclusive, so a party that attracts people that are drinkers, non-drinkers, like no matter what your background, just bring the whole cohort together to really celebrate a big milestone. And then alongside that with the social role, there's also block parties, which we want to bring back, which are still a lot of fun, and also smaller events throughout the years, like movie nights and things like that. But ultimately, we want to make the events as accessible as possible, make them good timing, later at night so people can still make it, and especially advertise them a lot and give you guys a clear idea of what's going on so you don't kind of lose it in all the Facebook posts. And then the second part is fundraising, so to make all of that other stuff happen. A big thing that we had in mind is taking advantage of the large applicant pool of McGill Med every year. People are usually pretty eager to come to events, and a lot of Med students are pretty eager to give advice. So we figured we'd put the two together and organize some events in the application period where people can come together and have more like relaxing events like a Sega set and like presentations where you can pay for whatever drinks and food or whatever, and we could gather money like that and use it for something like end of FMD.
So hi, I'm Kaylee, and I'm excited to be running for the position as Med2 class treasurer. So prior to medical school, I studied occupational therapy. I did the master's program, and I was the VP Finance for the School of Physical and Occupational Therapy Graduate Student Association. So as VP Finance for Spot GSA, I really learned the importance of balancing a budget as well as making sure that the finances were going towards academic as well as fun activities. And of course, I feel that the skills I learned as VP Finance will be directly applicable to being the Med2 class treasurer. Another thing that is very important when dealing with money, as Hassan said, is transparency. So I would like to be transparent by providing report to our class as to where the money was going. And lastly, I'm going to work closely with the Student Council in fundraising to ensure that we have money for all of our events. And very importantly, I love the game Monopoly Deal, so I feel that I'm good with money. Thank you, and you can count on Kaylee.
Have any questions? Yes. So my question is for Risha.
Okay.
So how do you plan to represent our cohort, and how will you make yourself available to students if they have any concerns?
Okay, so first question is, how do I make myself accessible to cohort?
How do you plan on representing?
Oh, representing cohort. Okay, so I guess the second question. I'll ask the second question first. First of all, I'm often around campus, wandering around. I may not always go to class, never, but I go to events. I do intramurals. I have the great privilege of knowing most of the class, and I love to get to know them more and more on a daily basis. I come from Toronto, and I didn't know very many people coming to the program, and so this is really very much my community, which is why I want to give back and represent the community. So I'm always around Facebook, email. I will make all these forms of media accessible to raise concerns. And the second is, how do I plan on representing? Well, so I'll be in touch with the faculty when it comes to meetings about our medical education, and so it'll be important for me to gauge everyone's feedback from time to time and represent those, our concerns, our barriers, any obstacles, and even our successes to the faculty and let them know what's going on.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, and last but not least, the Med 3 Class Council. This is the best one.
Thank you to everyone for sticking around to the very end. Even those who aren't in our class. I hope you enjoy our little speech. Brian loves it. Anyway, so I've had a really fun time as Med2 class president. We've overcome a lot together, and I'm really excited to do the same thing in clerkship. We have a lot more challenges. We'll be split up a little more, be across the city, have maybe a little bit more stress, but hopefully throughout the year we can still find some time to get together, party a little bit, hang out, and share our experiences. I'm joined by a whole new council because our old council has moved on to bigger and better things, but I know that these guys, I've worked with actually every single one of them in some way, shape, or form, and I know they're super, super, super capable. So I think I'll leave the floor mostly to them because you've heard me talk a lot.
My name's Alex. Like to quote Amanda earlier on in the speeches today, Med 3 means clerkship, and that means a ton of like hectic, busy, and unpredictable schedules. So even if an activity sounds like super fun or an event, actually showing up to it is practically impossible if you've had a full day's work. So ideally, what we want to plan is activities on days we know we will all be here. So at the end of progress tests, or ideally recall days. We're planning on 2 to 3 larger events, and yes, we absolutely know that open bar is very popular, and depending as well, I think including our other years always ends up being an even better time.
So hi, I'm David, and just to talk about funding a little bit, which Amanda's going to work on as well. So we were thinking of combining like funding events with fun activities that people could do in our class. So like examples are like trivia contests, things like that, dodgeball tournaments where teams pay to participate, and there's like a pool of money, and part of it going to funding, part of it going to like the reward for the winning team. And aside from that, oh yeah, so we're very big on feedback. We really want to know what our class wants, so we're going to create an online platform for to hear what you guys want, and then kind of incorporate that into our events.
Alright, so for those of you that don't know me, but you probably at least know me as the girl whose name is at the end of all of the emails you get or Facebook posts. I'm Amanda, so I'm going to be running for the position of Med 3 class treasurer. I think this is a great transition from the role that I had this year dealing with sponsorships, having to work and try to create good deals for all of the students, and I hope to continue that this year. Typically the Med 3 treasurer can sometimes get let off easy by not doing too much, since a lot of the big work happens in Med 4, but I thought why not start a little earlier, and so I'll focus on getting a lot of sponsorships for our class this year to lighten the load for when it comes to grad ball, because it's super expensive, and from some of the stuff that I've seen this year. So that includes like signing sponsorship contracts, having more fun events that they want to do that could be sponsored by different partners that we currently work with or new ones. And so these are just some of the things that I think that would bring more to the table for the Med 3 class and could just help us all in Med 4 as well.
So overall, we're all running uncontested. We would love your support. I think that we've all had kind of different ways to show that we're capable of doing what we're doing. So please vote. That would be great. Also, fill out your ISA forms. We really do love feedback. But the classes all get $500, so please, please, please. I know like everyone has been kind of pushing for this, but we really need to get to 70% completion for the ISA. It's completely student run. I'm sorry for taking up time to do this, but it's like super important. We love your feedback. Thank you.
No questions?
No questions. Do you have a question?
I had a question.
Go ahead. Go for it.
So I read on someone's platform, I was a group, but the person talking about the ACE program, but the buddy program between like Med 1 and the Med 3s, so like to give more advice. What do you guys think about that? Do you think it's a good idea? If yes, what would you do about it?
Were you saying it was on our platform or on someone else's platform?
Sure, let's do it.
Sure. Well, I'm gonna give a plug here for something that we started this year, or that's currently ongoing this year. We're creating, but it's more between like residents and Med 3s and 4s. It's called the MSS Alumni Network, where Med 4s are paired up with residents that are in fields or in fields similar to the ones that they want to be into to help them throughout the application process. So, and we already have like the ACE buddy program, and I know depending on how close you are with your buddy, it may or may not continue. So it's definitely something that we could consider. I don't know if Med 3 is like the ideal, like Med 3, Med 1 buddy is the ideal combination, just because of how busy the Med 3s are, and like they just want their bed half the time.